This is what I really wanted to do in life.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Okay.
Yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai nai 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 ay nai nai ay nai nai ay nai nai ay nai nai yai
Morning, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We were just noting before we began that this sanctuary was created for many reasons, with many goals in mind. But one of them was to have a sanctuary that would be receptive to this precise service, Hama'alot. And this is our first Hama'alot ever in this sanctuary, because we dedicated the sanctuary in around Labor Day 2019. For some reason, we didn't have a Hama'alot service in the fall. I don't know why. I'll blame it on someone. Blame it on Rabbi Chorny. She's not here. And then, everything stopped. So we've had now Sovev services in this room, and we've led Hama'alot services from here without all of you here. But this feels like another Shechianu moment to be together, to sing together, and to host in this space one of the services for which this very space was created. If this is your first Hama'alot, it's an intentionally interesting mashup of a liturgical conservative Shabbat morning service and a more renewal approach to being playful with liturgy. It will have a Psukei de Zimra, it will have a Shacharit, it'll have a Torah service, it will nod at Musaf, but it will not have every component of our standard halachic Shabbat morning service. And the goal is that every minute of it is crafted and curated for meaning and for substance. And we always try to create a Hama'alot that when it's over, you're all wishing for more. And we hope that's your experience today. Ay, 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 ay,
Number 1 on your sheets, or page 106, or 66, or 12 in your Siddurim. Emet, 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 emet. Emet atahu rishon, v'atahu acharon, umibaladecha. Emet atahu rishon, v'atahu acharon, umibaladecha. Ein lanu melech, ein lanu goel, u'Moshiach, u'Moshiach. Emet atahu rishon, v'atahu acharon, umibaladecha. Emet atahu rishon, v'atahu acharon, umibaladecha. Emet, emet,
Emet. Emet.
If you're able to do so, please rise, page 132, page 92, or page 72. Lesichon melech ha'emori ki le'olam chasdo ule'og melech habashan ki le'olam chasdo v'natan arza le'nachalah ki le'olam chasdo nachalah le'Yisrael avdo ki le'olam chasdo shebeshifleinu zachar lanu ki le'olam chasdo vayifrekeinu mitzareinu ki le'olam chasdo noten lechem lechol basar ki le'olam chasdo hodu le'hashamayim ki le'olam chasdo yanai nai 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 yai nai 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 yai 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 nai nai yai nai nai yai nai nai Lev tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon chadesh bekirbi lev tahor berali Elohim veruach nachon chadesh
בקרבי, אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני, אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני. לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים, ורוח נכון חדש בקרבי. לב טהור ברא לי אלוהים, ורוח נכון חדש בקרבי. אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני, אל תשליכני מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממני.
You'll notice that one was only on the sheet, not in the Siddur. This is our way of telling the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, the great men of the assembly from 2,000 years ago who put together our Siddur, that Psalm 51 should have been the Zimra. So we with sweet irreverence, we sometimes import Lev Tahor into our Psuke de Zimrat Hama'alot, because why not? Lev Tahor bara li Elohim. We're speaking to God in a command form. Create for me, God, a heart that is tahor. I'm going to non-translate tahor. I'm certainly not going to translate it as pure. I think that's a mistranslation. Maybe something of limitless potential. The ruach nachon, and the right spirit, the proper spirit, chadesh b'kirbi, renew within me. Is this a general notion? We're just asking God for the ability to have the right things coursing through us? Or is it specific? A French medieval commentator called the Bechor Shor says you have to understand this verse in its context. And the previous verse, which is not appearing here, but if you open up Psalm 51, I guarantee you it'll be there, has the psalmist, King David or someone else, confessing a sin, recognizing fallibility, and naming in word having veered from the right path. And so the Bechor Shor says that what this verse is doing, it's a very specific request to God and a nod to the self, that after every error, after every swing and a miss, you don't like using this word so much in Judaism, but why not? After every sin, you can turn to the universe and to God and say, okay, now I'm ready to do better. That's the Lev Tahor. It's not just a heart of sweetness and kindness and compassion. It's the immediate turn after a raised voice, an improper action, a transgression, to say, there is better within me. So if you're comfortable, I want to invite you to close your eyes. And hover in that space where you know exactly where you are. You can even picture the room around you, just on the other side of your eyelids. but you're also anywhere. Your mind taking you through time and space, unbound by the 3 dimensions of this room. And if you haven't, you can place your feet flat on the ground so you have that full contact with the earth beneath you. Even a gratitude for gravity's pull and the soft cushion on which you sit. And maybe for the first time, even since the sun went down last night, allow Shabbat not just to be present in the world, but present in your very body. And I want to invite you to allow your mind to go back to the last thing or word or action or inaction that you regret. Depending on the kind of day you have, you might just be going back 10 minutes. You might be going back a week. The regret can be small or enormous. The sin may have been towards another person, a person who may not even know it. It might be something you did against yourself, ben adam la'atzmo, or ben adam la'makom. It might have been a choice you made with respect to the Holy One and to Judaism that you knew was not right. And just linger in what it felt like in the aftermath once you realized it was a mistake. Is there defensiveness inside your mind? Shame? A decision never to do that again, or a recognition that you might, because human nature is that way. And I want you to imagine that Creator of the universe is presenting in front of you in that moment a door. And through that door is a Lev Tahor. Just on the other side of your guilt and shame and regret and sin is the never expiring human potential to ask God for a Lev Tahor, which is really asking it of yourself. It's not an invitation to err, knowing that just right after it, you can do better. But it's a recognition that when you do stray, that door is present, and all you need to do is walk through it. In the constant development of the self, the psyche, the Tselem Elohim, the divine image with which we were created. A divine who also makes mistakes in our tradition, regrets, and then resolves to be different the next time. Lev Tahor, Berali Elohim Veruach Nachon Chadesh Bekirbi Lev Tahor Berali Elohim Veruach Nachon Chadesh Bekirbi Al Tashlicheni Milefanecha Veruach Kodeshecha Al Tikach Mimeni Al Tashlicheni Milefanecha Veruach Kodeshecha Al Tikach Mimeni.
Number 4 on your sheets, or page 139, page 99, or page 86.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah Adonai min hashamayim. Hallelujah b'meromim. Hallelujah melachav. Hallelujah kol tzevav. Hallelujah shemesh ve'yareach. Hallelujah kol chochvei or. Hallelujah shmei hashamayim ve'amayim Hashem me'al hashamayim. Yehallelu et Shem Adonai ki utziva v'nivra'u v'ya'amidem le'ad le'olam chok natan v'lo yavor. Yehallelu et Shem Adonai ki utziva v'nivra'u v'ya'amidem le'ad le'olam chok natan v'lo yavor. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Nishmat, page 145, page 104, or page 334, or number 5 on your sheets. Nishmat kol chai Tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu nishmat kol chai Tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu Yenenai In just a moment, we'll begin Shacharit. And throughout Shacharit, you'll hear from 3 different voices, excerpts from our Nissan edition of the literary magazine, and through this theme of For You Were Strangers. So we will dive in pieces of Shacharit and then pause with Nigun to hear these words of story and of experience. And then we'll continue with Shacharit and then pause again, etc. So for now, we're going to begin with Chatzi Kaddish, with Chatzi Kaddish on page 148. And somewhere around page 105 or page 336, and Cantorstone will lead us.
Yitzgadal v'yitzgadash shemei rabba ve'amad dibra kirutei ve'amlich machutei b'chayachon of yomechon u'b'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'agalav bizman kariv ve'imru amen v'yishmei rabba mevarach le'olam olam me'amaya yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yishpar v'yijman v'yidnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekud shabrichu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata Damiram be'amav imru amen. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
My poem is a response. My poem is a response to Isaiah chapter 58, verses 6 through 8, which is the Haftorah we read Yom Kippur morning. No, this is the fast I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke, to share your bread with the hungry, to take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, to clothe him, and not to ignore your own kin. Then shall your light burst through like the dawn, and your healing spring up quickly. That's the prompt I was responding to when I wrote this poem. Is my light bursting through and helping one refugee family out of thousands? US immigration is a cyclone that spits out many more than it sucks in. Will my light escape this vortex, this black hole of regulations and documents? Can my kindness, my welcome, my generosity seep through and provide some shelter? God has placed me now, able to do some good in the world. My children are grown. My parents have passed. My husband supports me in these endeavors. I have enough for myself, enough food, shelter, health, money, and time, enough to share, enough to attempt meaningful activity. Our welcome circle reaches out to embrace one individual family, a family of 4 born in Kandahar, speaking Pashto. We put another Band-Aid on wounds for many centuries, ever-present demons of human arrogance and ego and cruelty, shredding the lives of ordinary people who want only to be left alone. One welcome circle, 6 people networked in one synagogue in Los Angeles. Other welcome circles appear in this city and in others, and in other faiths, to push back against these demons, even if only with Band-Aids, maybe also with food, and with rent money and furniture, and with care and kindness. Is my light bursting through with claps of thunder and rainbows? Is this what the prophets demand of me? Am I doing justice and walking humbly? Is this what my mother, a welcomed refugee, asked of me? Am I helping God to welcome the stranger, to raise up the downtrodden? My sarcastic self says, I'm more than happy to let God do it without me. It also says, you are taking yourself way too seriously. Likely so. I want to believe that I am an agent in the holy work of human connection. How blessed, how fortunate I am to be in this work.
חדש ציון תאיר ונזכחו לנמר לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. These are the words of my mother, Lynn Bider, after her recent trip to Poland and the Ukrainian border with the Jewish Federations of North America, the Jewish Agency, and the Joint Distribution Committee, also called the Joint. She bears witness to what she saw. The war in Ukraine is a nightmare beyond imagination. Because we were in Poland and on the border, we didn't see the devastation of the towns and cities, but we saw how devastating this has been to the lives of the refugees. We could see it in their eyes. We spent our time in Poland observing the work of the Joint and the Jewish Agency. We met with refugees and acted as witnesses to not only the despair, but also the incredible ability of humanity to come together and to help. As I walked to the border, I did not know what to expect, but what I saw was surreal. There are throngs of people making their way into Poland. The first thing that the refugees see when they cross the border at Medea is an Israeli flag. They walk through a thoroughfare with tents on both sides. Volunteers are providing food, clothes, diapers, candy for the kids, and so much more. I have never seen so many diapers in one place in my whole life. All we saw were women and children. They were exhausted and in a state of shock. There was silence, a silence that was deafening. The kids take a piece of candy, and they can't even muster a smile. They only had what they were able to carry, a backpack and one suitcase. Everything else was left behind. I saw a woman struggling to get her son's backpack on him. I stopped and grabbed her suitcase to help. She looked at me gratefully. I thought to myself, what must she be thinking? This strange woman comes up and grabs my suitcase. But she trusted me. We went to the hotel run by the JDC in Lublin. The hotel is on the site of a famous yeshiva, Yeshivat Chochmei Lublin. That's where Daf Yomi, the 7-year daily study of Talmud program, was invented. There were both Jews and non-Jews staying there. No one is turned away. We met a mother and 2 sisters. They weren't Jewish, but one of the sisters told us her name was Shabbos. We all laughed, bringing some levity to the moment. She was grateful to the Jewish world opening its doors to her in her time of need. She said that she hopes to be able to give back to the Jewish people someday. The Jewish Agency also took over a hotel, the Novotel in Warsaw, where they are interviewing families and writing visas for those who want to go to Israel. About 1/3 of the Jewish Ukrainian refugees want to make Aliyah. We met a Jewish mother with 2 small children who had left her husband behind to fight. After 22 hours in an overcrowded train, she stood overnight in the cold with her 3-year-old and 5-year-old among thousands of other refugees waiting to be processed at the border. Her brother in Israel begged her to come a month ago, but she didn't believe that war would actually come to Ukraine. They're going to Israel this week. I was struck by the outpouring of humanity, at how quickly Poland and many organizations have responded and reacted so quickly. Poland has been amazing, providing free train rides and using every hotel room in the country for refugees. The Polish people have opened their homes to these strangers in need. People in peril are being cared for in countless ways. We asked a worker from the Joint at the border, "What are you doing here?" She said, "There's a need, so I'm here." What was once a vibrant Jewish community in Ukraine is forever changed. It is too difficult to comprehend how or well it will end. But together, so much of the world, including the Jewish world, are responding with love and care, and we are standing up for them. בקרב תנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה, ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני Adonai Elohechem emet.
October of 1956, a spontaneous national uprising began in Hungary. Protesters demanding a more democratic political system and freedom from Soviet oppression. 12 days later, on November 4, 1956, Soviet tanks rolled into Budapest, crushing the uprising. An estimated 2,500 Hungarians died, and 200,000 more fled as refugees to Austria. The revolution saw sporadic attacks on Jews, especially in Budapest. Of the 200,000 refugees, approximately 20,000 were Jews. HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, resettled about 14,000 Jewish refugees who had fled to Austria to the United States. During the wintry chill of December, my parents and sister, my uncle and his son, attempted to cross the border with Austria. Soviet soldiers caught and then sent them back to Budapest by train. As the train pulled out, they jumped off, managed to hide, and later walked into Austria, Jewish refugees. My grandparents refused to let them take such a risk with a 2-year-old, so I stayed back with them. I adored my grandparents, and I had my aunts and cousins, a family. I knew my parents only through pictures and presents that they sent through the years. They tried to get permission for me to join them, but the Hungarian government, installed by the Russians, repeatedly refused to grant an exit visa. With the assistance of the American and International Red Cross Society, I, along with about a dozen other displaced European children, arrived in New York in 1962, accompanied by my grandmother. They thought her presence would make it easier for me to bond with my parents and less traumatic to let her go. Her visa was only for 6 months, not nearly enough time for me to connect with strangers or to let her go. To this day, I have no idea how I knew I was Jewish. I have no memory of attending a shul, lighting candles, or observing any holidays. We ate whatever my grandparents could find and afford. In New York and later in Los Angeles, we ate pork and shrimp. Shabbat did not exist for us. We celebrated Christmas for the beauty of the trees and pleasure of the presents. My father especially had a strong disdain for religion and its leaders. The first time I went inside a synagogue was for the bar mitzvah of a second cousin. My parents refused to attend. I was extremely uncomfortable, ashamed, and embarrassed by my ignorance. The next occasion was many years later, attending a wedding, still illiterate, but aware of a spark of need to understand. Yet, I knew I was a Jew, and I knew I would only marry a Jew, but I never knew how I knew that. I also did not understand why my parents were so dismissive of the Jewishness of others. In bits and pieces over many years, I learned some of their story. My mother and her 2 sisters grew up in a wealthy Orthodox home, davening daily, studying Torah with their father, until 1944. Then, my mother 13, her sister 14, and my grandmother were forced into the Hungarian ghetto. My grandfather and oldest aunt, 16 at the time, were taken somewhere, never to be seen again. My father, his brother, and 2 sisters grew up in a very poor home, their parents from a shtetl repairing pots and pans in the big city. In 1944, my 19-year-old father and my 16-year-old aunt were taken to Auschwitz-Birkenau. The rest of the family went into hiding, and all miraculously survived. I don't know anymore. I only know that when my aunt came to visit us from Hungary 50 years later, she became physically ill when she saw my German Shepherd and had to leave the house. She could not talk. I will never forget the haunted, agonized look in her eyes. My becoming a Jew in practice is a story for another time, but I'm happy to say that my parents attended my shul wedding, the bar and bar mitzvahs of my 4 children, and tolerated my kosher home. Only with the passing of years do I come to understand the obstacles, trauma, and scars of my parents' life. Each of us has a story, many stories to tell. Why am I telling this one now? Because my heart is aching and my soul is crying. I am frightened for my children and grandchildren. I am frightened for all children and grandchildren. I have no words to express the depth and scope of all the emotions swirling through me. My thoughts swing back and forth between my childhood to the present. The incredibly blessed journey I have traveled to loving children and grandchildren. My heart remembers the love and devotion flowing between my grandmother and myself, and my heart aches for the lost embraces of my parents caused by historic circumstances. How many aching hearts, how many lost embraces, how many times will we repeat history before we learn that war is not healthy for children and other living things?
Tur Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Uvdeichnu Mecha, Yehuda veYisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Hasei Avot Umevi Goel Livnei B'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Uvoked U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Ufoked Sarah Atah Givor Leolam Adonai Lechayei Metim Atah Lehoshia Mashiach Baruch Umarida Gashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei Metim Berachamim Rabim Tomech Noflim Verofech Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Memit Umechayef Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah le'achayot metim Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hametim Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shemakditim oto b'shmei marom Kach katuv al yad nevi'echa v'kara zeh zeh ve'amar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavod, Melech haaretz kevodo. Az beko rash gadol adir v'chazak mashmim kol midnasaim leumat serafim leumatam baruch yomeru yain anai yain anai yain nai 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 nai. Baruch Adonai mimkomo. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך ני 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 מתי תמלוך בציון וקרוב בימינו לעולם לעולם ותשכון תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ני 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 בעינינו תיראנה תיראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשיר עוזך על ידי דוד משיח צדקך ימלוך אדוני לעולם ולחייך ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You're still davening, please continue at your own pace. We think this is the first time we've done a Hama'alot service that included Hallel, which is why we started it a little bit earlier. It is Rosh Chodesh today, and so we're going to do a partial Hallel. A partial.
A partial of the partial.
Most of the songs we're going to sing are actually on the sheets, but we start with the brachot of Hallel, which begin on page 316.
16. Or or 133 or 380. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishon mitzvotav v'tzivanu likrot hallel.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishon mitzvotav v'tzivanu likrot hallel. Mekimi me'afar ha'ardal me'yashpot narim evyon lehoshim im nedivim amon moshi hakeret habayit em abanim selecha hallelujah 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 Beit Yisrael miMitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'Amloes Hayta Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael am shelotav Hayam Hayarden Yisov le'achor He'harim tirkedu chelim Givnei tzon
Malechaya,
Malechaya, Kitanu, Hayarden, Tisov le'achor, He'harim, tirkedu chelim Gevod, Givnei tzon Milifnei Adon, Chuli haaretz, Milifnei Elohai Yaakov, Ahofchi Hatzor, Agamayim, Chalami, Shlemayna Mayim. Adonai Zecharanu Yevarech, Yevarech et Beit Yisrael, Yevarech et Beit Aharon, Yevarech Yirei Adonai, Haketanim Hagedolim, Yosef Adonai Alechem, Alechem ve'al bneichem, Beruchim atem Adonai, Oseh shamayim va'aretz, Shamayim Adonai, ve'aretz natan libnei Adam, lo hametim Hallelujah, ve'lo go yardei duma, v'anachnu nevarech Yah, me'ata ve'ad olam, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah.
Number 14, Min
Hametzar karatia, Anani, V'amerchav yamin. Hametzar karatia, Anani, V'amerchav
Page 319,
Min hametzar karatia, Anani, V'amerchav yamin. Hametzar karatia, Anani,
sheets?
Middle page is good.
Bottom. Eliata
Veldeka, Elohai Aromemeka, Hodul Adonai Ki Tov Ki Leolam Chasto Tov lehodot u'shimcha na'el lezamer, ki me'olam ve'ad olam ata ta'el. Baruch atah Adonai, melech melech tishbachot. Yain Yitgadav Yitgadash Shemei Rabba, Ve'amad Divra Kirtei Ve'amlich Machutei B'chayachon V'yomechon V'chayidecho Beit Yisrael B'agalav Izman Kari Ve'imeru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, Ve'olam Me'omaya Yitbarach. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitbar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitalei V'yitalal Shemei Dekut Shabrichu. Le'ela Min Kol Bechata V'shirata Tishbachata V'nechemata Damiram Be'ama Ve'imeru. Amen. Tish Kabal Tzolodonu V'odehon D'chol Yisrael Kodonu V'hon Divishmaya Ve'imeru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shmaya V'chayim Aleinu V'chol Yisrael Ve'imeru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mamav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'chol Yisrael Ve'imeru. Amen.
We're going to begin the Torah service. Today is a 3 Torah day. It's very exciting. So we're going to read from Parshat Tazria. It is also Rosh Chodesh, as you just experienced, I think the fastest halal I've ever done in my whole life. And also Shabbat HaChodesh, which is the last of the special Shabbatot before Passover. And it's called HaChodesh because it's done right before Nisan, which actually is today, so they're kind of coming together. So we're going to be reading one aliyah from each Torah. So we're going to also need 3 hagbas and 3 galilas. So if you are comfortable doing any of those things,
Let me know.
get your muscles ready. But we'll ask you to please rise as we bring the 3 Torahs forward.
Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai,
ve'yafutzu oivecha, ve'yanusu besanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion teitzeh Torah, ki mitzion teitzeh Torah, u'devar Adonai min Yerushalayim.
The girl. She's going to do the third one. Zoe? So we got Noah for one and Zoe. That's interesting.
You may be seated. The first aliyah, which is from Parshat Tezriah, can be found on page 657 in your Chumash. If you're looking in a non-Eitz Chaim Chumash at home, it's Leviticus 13, verse 40.
So again, a Shabbat Shalom and a welcome to those who are here with us for our first Hama'alot service ever in the sanctuary, and those who are joining from home, Bonnie and the Backracks, the Litovs, Cal Rosenberg and Tybal, and anyone joining on YouTube. We give this disclaimer, every Hama'alot, the Torah service is the part of the Hama'alot service that is the most playful in terms of the inherited tradition. It's still strange, I don't know, 7 or 8 years into the Hama'alot experience that we choose not to do 7 aliyot on Shabbat, which is just accepted tradition everywhere in the Jewish world, but it's the concession we make in order to pack a short service with content and intentionality. And it's made even more challenging, but also lyrical, that we always do 3 Aliyot and Hama'alot. Now we have 3 Sifrei Torah. So we're about to read the portion of our Torah reading that is from Parshat Tazria. And as a way of getting into one of the interesting verses of a parsha that is challenging, of course, to make sense of as a modern person. We're going to do a short, in real-time midrashic experience, which we call bibliodrama. We're not going to do a full one. We don't have the time for that. But what bibliodrama is a way to create midrash in real time. It's to allow the creativity of our minds and our connection to the language of the Torah to do the very thing that the rabbis of the Midrash and the Talmud did thousands of years ago, which is to fill in and to take a 2-dimensional text and make it yet more than 3 dimensions. And I spoke about this in a frontal Dvar Torah last night at Friday night services. It's recorded if you want to watch it. And we have a really interesting section. If you want to follow along in your Chumash, it's 657. You don't have to, you could just listen. Chapter 13, verses 45 and 46. That the person who's been diagnosed, and that's the right word, with sara'at, this skin disease that whatever it is, it's not leprosy. Which I remind you, the rabbis of the Talmud associate with the sin of Lashon Hara, the sin of speaking ill of people, with the idea of midah keneged midah, that the punishment would have fit the crime. And if your punishment is getting a scaly skin disease, making your face look white, that makes you isolated from the community, it must be that you committed a sin which turned people's faces white and made them feel isolated. You must have spoken badly about someone. The Torah does not know that. All the Torah knows is that your body's been stricken. And you're diagnosed with sara'at. And the Torah says, "V'hatzarua shirbo hanega," that person with sara'at, who has the stuff on him, begadav yufumim, his clothes will be torn, rosho yefarua, his head will be uncovered, v'al safam yateh, some kind of a covering on his upper lip to indicate what we don't know. V'tameh tameh yikra. And that person will walk through the camp and say of himself or herself, tameh, tameh, I am tameh, which again I refuse to translate as impure. I am afflicted. I am isolated. I'm not well. I have tzara'at. The commentators read those words very differently from one another, but right now you're the commentators. And so what we're going to do very briefly is engage in a bibliodrama, and what that means is that I'm going to put you in a character. You're going to be that person. And if you speak in the first person. You're not giving a commentary on the text, you are in the text. Because we're doing this live and digitally, I would do this anyway. I'll repeat everything that the person said. And your only task is to speak in the first person as the character I put you in. And no one has to participate. But if no one participates, it's a very short bibliodrama. So you are living in ancient Israel. And you saw a lesion on your body, and you weren't sure what it was. And you went to the Kohen to diagnose it. And the Kohen did all the checks that the Torah says to do, and deemed you to have tzara'at. So you are now at tzarua, and you know the drill. You tore your garments, You uncovered your head, which is not an easy thing to do if you're an ancient Israelite. Some covering over your mouth. And you are walking through the camp, saying to anyone who you see, pointing to yourself, Tameh. I am Tameh. So you are that person. And I want you to speak as that person in the first person. What's your experience of this ritual, of this moment? Is there any tsarua in the camp who would like to raise their hand? Yes, Mr. Tsarua.
I will believe and follow the tradition. I don't know why I have Torah. I will go through it. I feel like I'm being shamed by my community, and I don't know why. But I'll accept it.
Interesting.
I'm upset with God.
So I don't know why I got this. I don't know what it means. I'm feeling publicly shamed, but there must be a reason, so I'm gonna go through with it. And hopefully it'll be over soon. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, another tsarua. Yes.
I'm walking through the camp. You all see my clothes are torn. See my head, my hair. Whatever hair I have left is totally disheveled. And you don't even look at me in the eyes. Why don't you look at me in the eyes? Why do you turn your eyes aside? You only see the outside of me. You do not look inside my soul.
So I'm walking through the camp, and I see all of your eyes, and you're all looking at the external things that have been forced upon me. You're looking at the lesion on my skin. You're looking at my torn clothes. You're looking at my uncovered head, which I'm not used to. It's almost as if you're being forced to not look at me, what my experience is. And I'm Tameh. Thank you. Is there another tsarua? Yes.
You're sending me away. What's going to happen to my family? What will happen to my children? How will I be able to survive? Will you take care of them? As you show me.
So I'm walking through the camp, and in some ways I'm actually walking away from the camp because I'm being told I have to be isolated. And you're focusing on me, and I'm focusing on whom I left behind. I'm the earner for this family. I don't know how long this isolation is going to be, what's going to happen to my family, my children, and you, community, who are sending me away, you, God, who is sending me away. Are there any provisions for who's left behind? Let's hold that, community. We're going to read the Aliyah, starting with chapter 13, verse 40, and then we'll hear from some others who were present in that moment. I'm going to switch to that side. Yitzchak ben Shmuel ben Miriam v'yet Dorit bar Yafa v'Davi l'Yavishana Baruch Shnatan Torah l'Moshe b'Kedushato v'atem adlikin orechem Chaim kolchem hayom. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Yavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. כי מראה ראשו כריח הוא טהור הוא, ואם מפת פניו ימראה ראשו גיבח הוא טהור הוא, וכי וקרחת או בגבחת נגע לבן אדמדם, צרת פורחת היא בקרחתו ובגבחתו, וראה אותו הכהן. והנה שאת הנגע לבן אדם דמת בקרחתו ובגבחתו, כמראה צרת אור בשר, איש צרוע הוא טמא יטמאנו, הכהן בראשו ניגו, והצרוע אשר בו הנגע בגדיו יהיו פרומים, בראשו יהיה פרוע ועל שפם יטה, וטמא יקרא. כל ימי אשר הנגע בו יטמא טמא הוא, בדד ישב מחוץ למחנה מושבו.
אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Ya'amod Hama'alot.
No, first Yamod him. Yamod, are you Aliyah or?
Yeah, Aliyah.
Yamod.
What's your first name?
Ruvain ben Shmuel Mamalka. It's like a guessing game. I'm gonna give you my parents' name and I'll give you my name. Ruvain ben Shmuel Malka. Aliyah Shniya. Before we lift and wrap the first Torah, we want to celebrate Isaac and Doris who are coming to the Torah today for love of Torah and love of Shabbat and to celebrate their anniversary. Special number? 29. Very special. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, dear Isaac and Doris. Happy anniversary to you. Many more. Yamdu Magbi Bagolela Sefer Rishon. Please rise as the first Torah is lifted.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכי המאושר. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכי המאושר. דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום.
So once again, we travel back. We're not in Los Angeles in the sanctuary. We're in an Israelite encampment in the desert or somewhere in the Galilean hills or near Jerusalem. In an era where tzara'at exists and the Kohen is the diagnoser. And you're in a community and you got news that there's a case. Case is broken out. A person went to the Kohen and got diagnosed and was deemed a tzarua. And you look out your window and walking through your town on the way to the outskirts is a person. The skin looks white and scaly, or maybe with a red blotch, and his clothes are torn, and his head is uncovered, and he's got something over his lip, and he is saying loudly, you can't quite discern the look on his face, you're too far away, but he's saying loudly as he passes by your hovel, your building, your tent, Tameh, Tameh. And I'm wondering, dear Israelite, as you watch this, what's your experience at this moment? What are you thinking when you see this person walk underneath your windowsill saying, Tameh, Tameh? Yes?
Two things. I mean, first of all, doesn't really deserve it, and he's been part of the community, and something's happened today, and he's just been thrown out after one person's decision, which is to come in. Maybe there should be an outside the story.
Huh. So I'm watching this guy, I'm thinking, on the one hand, does he deserve it? Maybe he did something that brought this upon him. And I'm also thinking, that Kohen has a lot of power. That Kohen made a decision, and now this person is going to leave the camp for a week. And might there be another side to the story, another way of handling this situation? That's what I'm thinking when I'm looking out my window. And actually, maybe I'm even wondering what would happen if it's ever my turn. What else? Is there a tzarua a person watching this scene who wants to weigh in as to what the experience is like? Yes. Yeah. So I'm looking out the window, I'm thinking three things. Number one, is it infectious? And that thing on his lip, is it a mask? Ba-dum-bum. I'm wondering if it might come to my home, and I hear that this tzara can either also get on your clothing in your house. And I'm also wondering, does this ever end? Like once you get it, does that mean you've always have it, or do you ever get to come back? And I'm a little concerned as I'm watching this. Is there a third person watching who has some thoughts? Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. So I'm looking out, and right now I'm not feeling scared. I'm feeling empathy. He's walking away from us. Maybe we should be walking towards him and seeing what he needs. Does he need a meal train for his family? And I'm wondering if there should be a delegation that goes to the Kohen that tries to curtail or limit some of that ultimate authority. Let's jump out of that mini bibliodramatic scene, and we're no longer in an Israelite encampment. We're in Los Angeles studying the material. And what's fascinating about what we just experienced is that most of the major rabbinic interpretations of the scene were made articulate organically by what you all shared, which is really a wonderful indication that this experience, while modern, is really the same process by which the rabbis created Midrash. I spoke about this last night, that there are two classic interpretations of what it means when the person says of himself or herself, tameh, tameh. Rashi says that he's saying it to basically say to everyone, get away. I'm infectious. You need to protect yourself. So shouting it, tameh, tameh, like clear a path so I can get out of the camp. And Ibn Ezra, a Spanish commentator, says he's actually saying it to draw people close so that they will beg for his mercy and petition on his behalf to God and to the Kohen. It's to initiate compassion rather than to initiate fear. Particularly because, again, in the biblical world, before the rabbinic overlay, there was no indication that the person did something to deserve it. Just got a disease. And we don't know who was right, Ibn Ezra or Rashi, but we do know that they represent two natural human responses to another person's frailty. Uh-oh, what if that comes to me? I better stay away. Let me get far away. And, God's expectation of me right now is to draw close and to see if that person needs help and to see if I were ever in a situation, wouldn't I want that being brought to me as well? Which also connects to some of the refugee things that we read about during Shacharit. So within a really archaic set of texts having to do with things that don't become present in the modern Jewish world anymore, skin disease, tzara, we've got near the entirety of the human reaction to another person's otherness and frailty, the two different ways we can respond, which represent the myriad ways in between. Second aliyah.
We'll be on page 930 in the Eitz Chaim Chumash, or Bamidbar 28, verses 9 through 15.
Baruch Adonai Habarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Baruch Adonai Habarak Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol hamim, V'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
שני כבשים ונשנה תמימים ושני השונים, סוב נחב עליו השמן ונזכו עולת שבת בשבתו עולת התמיד ונזכה, ובראשי חודשיכם תקריבו עולה לאדוני פרים בני בקר שניים ואל אחד, כבשים ונשנה 7 ימים ושלושה השונים, סוב נחב עליו השמן לפר אחד ושני השונים, סוב נחב עליו השמן לאייל אחד, יסרון יסרון, סוב נחב עליו השמן לכבש אחד עולה ריח ניחוח אישה לאדוני ונזכיהם חצי יין, יהיה לפר שלישי תהין לאייל, ורביעי תהין לכבש יין זאת, עולת חודש בחודשו לחודשי השנה, סיריזין אחד לחטאת לאדוני, על עולת התמיד יעשה ונזכור.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher natan lanu Torah temet v'hei olam nata b'tofenu, Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen.
Third Torah.
Third Aliyah.
Third Aliyah is here, third Torah is there.
Ta'amod. Karen Chanabat. Zalman. Aliyah Shlishi, Ubracha, please rise. Yamdu Magbiba Hagolel. Golel. Vezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe B'nei Yisrael Ki Adonai V'yad Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tiva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tiva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tiva Lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tiva Lanu Moshe Morashat Keilat Yaakov, Morashat Keilat Yaakov, Morashat Keilat Yaakov, Torah Tiva Lanu Moshe. Third Aliyah, which is the special Torah reading for Shabbat HaChodesh. You have a page number?
Yes, page 380. So we're in Exodus chapter 12, verse 1.
I should do Cholim.
Yeah.
We're going to pause quickly and do a Mishaber for Cholim for all those who are ill in our community. If there's a name you'd like inserted in the bracha, please rise in your place, and we'll all add that name together. Mishaber Avotenu, Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Imotenu Sarivka Rachel Leah, Vivarech v'Rapeh Kol HaCholima Kol HaCholot B'Kila Kedusha Hazot, Et Zavi Yafa Bar Esther v'Rivka Bar Pesha v'Yosef Menachem Mendel Ben Gittel v'Yehuda Ben Abraham v'Sarah v'Ben Sion Ben Gittel v'Elena Kramer v'Tziril Chana Bat Zivya v'Bisa Chana Bat Chasi Geula v'Yehuda Yisrael Ben Leah v'Mordechai Ben Esther v'Michael Kwenko v'David Folman v'Rivka Chana Bat Zipporah v'Lucia Bat Dora v'Yehudi Bat Rivka v'Dani Ben Yamim Toven Arid v'Tzara Bat David v'Dina v'Taibel Bat Rachel Leah v'Ruven ben Yeshua v'Yonatan Pinchas ben Dona v'Rivka Perel v'Yeshua ben Shen Dovi bat Yalea bat Chaya ben Yosef ben Fei v'Bunya bat Chayka v'Kir Rachel bat Shula mipesa v'Yitzchak Elimelech Yosef Simcha ben Sarachana v'Michali bat Yehudi Bela v'Yed Gedalia ben Sarah v'David Yosef ben Rivka v'Yed Tzipor Liba ben Esrachana v'Yed Taiba bat Chaya v'Yed Ephraim ben Tzvi Hirsch v'Yed Chagi bat Shula v'Yed Chana Zahava bat Sarah Freda v'Yed V'kol HaCholim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Malei Rachmim Alehem Lachzikam L'Rapotam Yishlach Lehem Mei Rafu Shlemam Min HaShamayim for the Nefesh for the Gufet of Shar HaCholim V'chazei Kedei Oskim B'tzorcheihem Shabbatim L'Zog V'fu Akrov Alavo Hashav Agalav Yisman Kari V'nomar
Amen.
Oy Rabbana Shalom All the Krankens who have been Refuah Shlema.
Amen.
Mein Zella. Okay. I did.
Yes.
Yes, cute. And eat lots of
Baruch Adonai Olam Haed.
Asher barabanu mikol hamamim, natan lanu et tov baruch atah Adonai
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe vel Aharon be'eretz Mitzrayim lemor. Achodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim rishon hu lachem lechodshei hashana dabru el kol adad Yisrael lemor. Ve'asor lachodesh hazeh v'yichlu lahem ish sel beit avot sel habayit imimat habayit miyad miseh velakachu ushcheno akrov el beito b'michsat nefashot ish lefi ochlo tachosu alaseh Setamim, Zachar ben Shana Yelachem, Min HaKvasim, Min HaEzim Tikachu, Ve'aya lachem l'mishmeret, Ad 14 Yom l'chodesh hazeh, V'shachatu oto, Kol Kehal Adad Yisrael, Ben ha'arbaim, V'lakchu min adam v'natnu, Al shtei hamzuzot ועל המשקוף על הבתים אשר יאכלו אותו בהם ואכלו את הבשר בלילה הזה צליעי שמצות המרורים יאכלו אל תאכלו ממנו נא ובשל מבושל במים כי אם צליעי ראשו על קרב ועל קרבו ולא תותירו ממנו עד בוקר, והנותר ממנו עד בוקר באש תשרופו, וככה תאכלו אותו, מותניכם חגורים, נעליכם ברגליכם, ומקלכם בידכם, ואכלתם אותו בחיפזון, פסח הוא לאדוני. ועברתי בארץ מצרים בלילה הזה והכותי כל בכור בארץ מצרים מאדם ועד בהמה ובכל אלוהי מצרים 10 שבטים אני אדוני והיה אדם לכם לאות על הבתים אשר אתם שם, וראיתי את הדם, ופסחתי עליכם, ולא יהיה בכם נגף למשחית, והכותי בארץ מצרים, והיה היום הזה לכם לזיכרון, וחגותם אותו חג לאדוני, לדורותיכם, חוקת עולם תחוגוהו, 7 ימים מצות תאכלו, אך ביום הראשון תשביתו שאור מבתיכם, כי כל אוכל חמץ, ונכרתה הנפש ההיא מישראל, מיום הראשון עד יום השביעי, וביום הראשון מקרא קודש, וביום השביעי מקרא קודש יהיה לכם, כל מלאכה לא יעשה בהם, אך אשר יחל לכל נפש, הוא לבדו יעשה לכם. ושמרתם את המצות, כי בעצם היום הזה הוצאתי את צבאותיכם מארץ מצרים, ושמרתם את היום הזה, לדורותיכם חוקת עולם, הראשון ו14 יום לחודש בערב תאכלו מצות עד יום 21 לחודש בערב Shivat Yamim Seor Lo Yimatze Bevatechem Ki Kol Ochel Machmetzet V'nichreta Hanefesh Ahim Me'adat Yisrael V'ageru B'zrach Haaretz O Machmetzet Lo Tochelu V'chol Moshvotechem Tochlu Matzot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natav b'tzivenu Baruch atah Adonai noteinu.
Amen.
Sefer Shlishi.
Pick another song. Lama chazikim ba'avetamchei ha'meushar. Eitz chaim hi lama chazikim ba'avetamchei ha'meushar. Derachecha darchei noam v'chol netivotei shalom. Derachecha darchei noam v'chol netivotei shalom.
We're going to be last line on the top paragraph of 184 in the Lev Shalem. We almost always do the Musaf Amidah at Hama'alot entirely silently or entirely scripted by your own heart. If you'd like to daven the Musaf Amidah, it's on page 185 in the Lev Shalem and
156 or page 430.
Musaf can also be done anytime during the day, so if you'd rather take these moments for a response in your mind to the prompt I'm about to give you, you can do that and then daven Musaf later. In a short period of time, we've experienced a lot today. There was song, meditation, We were with the refugees from Hungary and from Ukraine and from so many parts of the world that we're not even aware of. We were with the Tsarua and his or her vulnerability and firmity. And we did all of this on the precipice of the month of Nisan. 2 weeks from today, we'll be recovering from our first Seder. I use that word recovering unconsciously. And what I want to invite you to do, either as you recite the words of the Musaf Amidah or just in a private standing meditation, we're going to ruminate on something that you experienced today, heard today, thought of today, or made aware of today, that has you thinking about something that you want to bring to the Pesach Seder in a few weeks, whether you're the leader of the Seder or not. A theme, an image, a teaching, a wisdom, a revelation that emerged organically from this prayer learning experience today that could pop up again and make an appearance when you sit around the table. Remember that we were slaves, and remember that one of the largest obligations of that very memory is to ensure that not only that we are not, but that others are not oppressed in the future. So again, either scripted by your mind or scripted by the Siddur, we invite you into those few minutes of quiet reverie. conclude a few minutes later than we thought we were going to, so we ask your forgiveness for that with Aleinu on 205 or
183 or 510.
משפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל עמונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שעולת השמיים ויוסר הארץ ובשם יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינת זו בגובה מרמים הוא אלוהינו עינוד 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 אמת מלכנו וזולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום להשיבותה אל לבבך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת עינות עינות עינות
בתפארת עוזך. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר בחיי אדוני למלך כל הארץ ומה הוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד אינו Kaddish, Kadisha Tome, page 207. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomeichon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'agala v'zman kari v'imru.
Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam lamei amaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei kedusha
Rifu.
Leila minkol birchata v'shirata v'fikata v'nechamata tamiran v'yama v'yimru.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru.
Amen.
V'aseh shalom v'rabah V'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru.
Amen.
Once again, good Shabbos, everyone who is here, and welcome back to the sanctuary. If it's your first time in a long time. Mincha tonight is at
6:20.
6:20. Sudash Lishit Amar Rabbi Shas will be teaching. A lot of other stuff, I'm sure, going on. Check your Passover's coming. If you want to sell your chametz to the synagogue, you can do the kinyan online on the website, or you can find me at some point and we can do that together. Make sure that your name and address has been submitted so that Rabbi Shat sells the chametz on your behalf. A week from tomorrow, there'll be a koshering opportunity if there are utensils and things you want koshered at the synagogue. We'll be for years, and details are forthcoming. After an alum. Oh, Haggadah Slam, Rabbi Shatz.
Oh, We have the Haggadah Slam on Thursday in person. I believe it's going to be outside on the field. The rabbis and 2 of our 3 interns of our rabbinic residents will be picking the piece of the Haggadah, Pesach, Matzah, and Maror, and each chavruta will be really diving deeply into it, both so that you can learn a little something that night, but also hopefully so that you can take something back to your Seder. So we hope that you'll come. It's at 7 p.m. on Thursday. It'll end by 8:30 at the very latest, and we hope to see you there.
We'll conclude with Adon Olam and then Kiddush, and then outside challenge.
Vegetarian.
Adon Olam Asher Mahalach B'Terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'nasa B'Chesed Hakol Hazai Ve'Leshemo Yikra Ve'Yacharek L'Chakol Ve'Vadayim L'Chora
Reishi, Beli, Takli, Belo, Ve'amitra, Beli, Vechai Goali, Ve'turchem li Ve'tzara, Ve'unisi, Umisi, Umanosli, Ve'nakosi, Ve'yom Ekra. So please rise. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael t'shavat, tzadot shavat l'dor tambarit olav, v'niyeh b'nei Yisrael tilelam ki sheshem yivasaranat t'shavat v'taras, v'yom hashvi shavat v'yinapash. Zachor yom shavat l'karsho, shuri yomim tova v'sitikam l'chdecha, v'yom hashvi shavat l'nai l'hechalot asechem lecha, ata uvincha uvitecha v'decha v'amatcha v'emtecha v'gercha asher b'sharecha, ki shesh yomim asaranat Adonai t'shamayim v'ta'aretz adiyam v'kol asher bam v'yanach b'yom hashvi'i. Ken berach Adonai et yom ha'shabbat v'kadeshehu savrim. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
It's really nerve-wracking to have first breakthroughs in this room.
Say that this is a piano here.
Where did they go from?
Just bring up here. And it's from.
It's from yesterday. No, that's yesterday.
April 1st?
Yeah.
But very late.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom, outdoors for Kiddush.
By the way, like the last second. Did it say 21:59? That is so funny.
Yeah,
very good follow.
Is it?
Yeah, not really sure why.
There's a Schwartz's.
What's that?
There's a Schwartz's. There's something about their like margarine that like it's
so good. It's like buttery.
Yeah, I know. But
very good.